It's day 430 of the Worldwide Megacrisis Hungerstrike, and I'm still recovering from 65 days of no food and plain water. It's been about, I think today is 1 month, day 30 of recovery, eating straight, and I can still barely walk. I'm supposed to go on this recovery for minimum 3 to 6 months to regain back the minerals I lost in my arms. I actually still can't feel my hand. Half of my hand is still numb from nerve damage, but it's worth it. And here's the point of my video and why I decided to make it and why I'm going to upload it on all my social media and not just TikTok. So that includes you, my professional contacts on LinkedIn. Despite my appearance physically and my stature reduced, this initiative we're pursuing called Fair World Spirit is a world-class initiative based on 75,000 hours of dedication, study, and scholarship, as well as boots on the ground practice. I just had 2 people, a surgeon and a coach of CEOs, both say to me the same dead spirit. And I'm making this video so that you do not give in to this dead spirit that is going to sweep our species very soon in the next few weeks, months. If we're lucky, we have 6 months. This dead spirit looks like this. I know we're going to die, but there might be a chance we won't. But I can't do anything about it. Therefore, I'm not going to try. Don't give in to that logic. That is the logic of despair and death and makes a mockery of my hunger strikes. I am experiencing tremendous amounts of worldly suffering with the 730 million other people going to bed hungry tonight. I know what that's going to feel. I know what that does feel like, and I know it's going to feel like that again in roughly a week and a half from now. Maybe roughly 2 weeks, because I'm going to be going back on my hunger strike on August 7th, roughly. I'm planning for August 7th. I've never gone on a hunger strike this long, so I don't know what the recovery is like. On all the other hunger strikes, I set it for normal periods of not eating, which is roughly a month. But to go 2 months and a week is extreme near death. And my deal to people on my hunger strike is it's perpetual. It keeps going because as the crisis gets worse, the hunger strike gets worse to keep pace. I designed it that way, and I had help from AI and a few other tools to really narrow in on the true pace of the mega crisis we face together. And it is fast. It is happening very fast. Okay? A man doesn't go 65 days for no reason. I could be living a completely different life, but wisdom pointed in a direction that said, don't follow the typical path. Don't get on the gravy train. Don't get your 9 to 5. Don't get anything that's normal in this society, because this society is crumbling. And ordinary consciousness doesn't have the wisdom to see the universal, the general direction of things, the timeless truths, the cycles that seem to repeat over and over when consciousness is ignorant. This is what the Buddhists call samsara, the wheel of suffering. This is the dualistic trap. This is the pattern of evil, according to many Christians and Muslims and Krishna. It doesn't matter what your religion is. We are all noticing a kind of logic. Okay? It doesn't matter what kind of science you apply. It doesn't matter whether you're theist or atheist. This metaphysics is happening to us over and over again, and we seem to be too ignorant to deal with it and solve it with genuine knowing. Our holy books have those timeless truths, but we are the problem. We are the interpreter of those books, and the wise masters who wrote them thousands of years ago, or even 8,000 years ago. We have an interpretation problem in modernity. I'm still having a hard time talking. I get to eat here pretty soon. I get to have breakfast. It's incredible. After you go 2 months and a week without breakfast, just to have breakfast is heaven on earth, as a spiritual man myself. We need to not give into that logic, because that logic is also dead. And logic leads to grammar. and grammar leads to language, and language leads to culture, and culture leads to habits and ways of doing things. And all of that right now is fragmented in this dead spirit. We are heading into the next stage of this mega crisis. I want to start using these very specific words to differentiate the real movement of change, of the government of the maestro, of art, the government of God, of religion, of the Messiah, the government of wisdom, of sagacity and the sages of philosophy, of science and truth, which is modernity and our atheists and secularists. But there is a mode that is missing, and it's going to be very hard to recognize that at first, which is why I'm having a hard time getting recognition to start the exponential trend towards critical mass. But if you have a little bit of wisdom in your mind, you might be able to see with universal logic. It is the new perspective of genuine, absolute, pure wisdom. But this pure wisdom has modes that it is approximated in our realities. But we have to get out of this relativism and into this new culture of relativism mixed with absolutism in the right wayfulness called the universal logic. It creates a government worldwide that can structure our reality in alignment with truth. And we can create laws that align with our true nature, in essence, that we can be liberated. Laws don't have to be restrictive and oppressive. Laws which are outside of our true natures, outside of this metaphysics of natural law, cause us to feel disconnected from the truth. It causes existential crises, and it causes power structures like we have now that are releasing technologies that have godlike capabilities, but we don't have godlike wisdom to handle that, which is why we're launching artificial intelligence at a rate that is currently destructive. Instead of completely and naively trying to stop it, which we have too much inertia, we need to regulate it. And not with ordinary fragmented human law, which is exacerbating the problem in World War III. We are in a multi-layer mega crisis. We need to have an unfragmented, super coherent type of logic that creates laws that are actually in alignment with the truth of who we are and where we're supposed to go, which is destiny. It is our destiny, and it is sacred. You are sacred. You are worth going 65 days without food for. It is a sacred mission to go towards the light, to go towards producing more regenerative life, and not to give up in this dead spirit. This is an eternal kind of living that this new governance will regulate through new types of laws that actually make sense and don't fragment our global spirit further. Fragmentation of consciousness is the root problem. That's a logic problem. Underneath logic is ontology. Not really. To be honest, logic is ontology. When we fragment those, when we treat logic as separate from ontology and epistemology, that's where we start to get into discourses and dialogues which gridlock, like we're seeing at the United Nations right now. The United Nations and their sustainability development goals were supposed to save us. Do you know how on track we are to those goals? Because they're not empty political promises. The reason why they were incredible in the year 2000 when they were the Millennium Development Goals. Oh, my body's reacting. I'm trying to recover here. 1 second. It's tough to recover from 65 days. Trust me. They're not empty political promises. These Millennium Development Goals, which are now the Sustainability Development Goals, were targeted. They have measurable targets. They were incredible. 193 nations signed on to them. And that's why we know we're only 15% on track. That's right. We are 15% after 26 years on track to goals that are supposed to be achieved by 2030. And they were supposed to protect us from this mega crisis that we saw coming 26 years ago. Wealth concentration is at all-time highs. We are not just in a bad situation, we are leaning in the wrong direction unless you follow the direction I'm pointing you. Okay, I'm pointing in a direction, and this is the way, the truth, and the life. This is the right way to go that vindicates the ancient wisdom traditions, not just in their parabolic, in their story form, but translating it into modern forms of science and a kind of pure knowing. Okay, so we're going to unite all these contradictions between atheists and theists, between science and religion, art and science. This idea of ontology and epistemology, of global and local, capitalism and communism. All of these fragments can now become moments of each other in a flowing whole. Okay? But I need somebody and a group of people in the right spirit. And the highest guardians now of our species are giving up. For the last 5 years that I've been trying to advocate for this direction, since I unionized Uber Eats during the pandemic, when I realized they were using AI to enslave people, not necessarily because they're evil, but because they're ignorant. Their business model is based on survival. And in order to survive in this global transnational mess we're in, it's unregulated capitalism. Capitalism is a necessary moment where you can't get rid of it, okay? Don't be naive if you're an activist. This is the real movement of God right here. You have to do it all in the right way. So it goes into political economics of capitalism balanced by socialism, sublated by communism into a kind of absolute anarchism. Okay, so all the moments have to happen at once. Libertarianism, command economy, mixed economy, free markets, all that stuff has its right moment. It's the wavefulness of which they relate to each other that is the logic that we need to grasp. It's a new kind, okay? It's a paradigm shift from bottom to top. That's why it's hard to understand people like Aristotle or Hegel or Jesus Christ or these guys that had real timeless wisdom wrapped in the language of their time. Okay, so the meaning is the logic underneath. That is the interpretive thing that you have to do and I have to do and the rest of us have to do to get our species taught in a new way of wisdom. What we're calling genuine wisdom, okay? And I would love to have you on board with this if you're in the Guardian class, okay? Because it took 5 years after I unionized Uber to get to the top. In the beginning, the Guardians were making fun of me and saying, oh, you're crazy, this is not gonna make sense. What are you talking about? You're way out there. That's because I'm outside the Overton window. Wisdom works way ahead of what the ordinary level of political knowledge accepts, of normalcy. So the real solutions are always outside of that, okay? Because we're always discovering new parts of ourselves. We're always self-transcending. That's what makes life life. Life is qualitatively rejuvenating, not in a bad infinite of just dead repeating all over, over and over again. One damn thing after another in terms of Hegelian studies. That's what they call the bad infinite. And you're feeling it. You're feeling the grind. In other words, it's called the grind. We need to transcend that to get back into flow. Okay? Now that it's 5 years later, it's reached the top, and the top are despairing too, because they don't have the answers. They don't have the universal logic. They don't have the wisdom, because they're operating in the old paradigm inside of the comfortable uncomfortableness of the Overton window. If you don't know what the Overton window is, oh, my hand's going numb. If you don't know what the Overton window is, it looks like this externally. It looks a little crazy at first because it's so far outside of what we can comprehend with normal logic, with normal meaning. I'm asking you to take a risk with me and listen to the meaning of my words and not the physical appearance of the activism. This is what the poor look like. I have a rat's nest in my hair. I can't get it out because I'm like the homeless. I wore this toque for 2 months straight without taking it off because I was frozen, because my metabolism was having a hard time keeping me alive. The homeless experience the same kind of thing. They experience this destruction that happens when you're on street time. And if I could go back to the University of Alberta or the Edmonton courthouse, I would be out there doing my hunger strikes in the cold. But I've been removed from those situations or arrested or a few things. I don't have a criminal record, by the way. None of those police officers charged me because they know I'm right. They came up to me on the hunger strike and they said, you're right. There's a bunch of corruption here. We're sick of it. We're sick of watching this kind of fragmented society, is what they basically said. They did not use the word fragmented, but they said there's corruption. Okay, I'm making this video because we have a surgeon and we have a coach of coaches, the top of the top, basically giving up. And I'm saying that's not the top. This is the top. I'm the top. This logic is the top. The truth is the top. The dedication is the top. The dedication is the top. The commitment, the hunger strikes, okay? The care, the sacredness, I'm calling you to that. And if you're in the Guardian class and this feels like the spirit that is inside of you that you want to follow, and that you would rather sacrifice in this spirit than wait to be sacrificed by the mega crisis, which is going to happen with a 70 to 95% chance likelihood in cultural decline, AI, CRISPR, World War III, climate change, and mental health. Just those 6 are the distilled essence of the existential threat that we truly face in its compounding nature. That's why it's going exponential, not just with AI, all of it as one, not just a meta crisis of meaning, not just a polycrisis of materiality. Together, it is a mega crisis, and it requires a mega solution. And that pure wisdom is already within you. We just need to actualize it. We need to bring it into language and into culture. Okay? And then we can work together, solve the fragmentation, create nonlinear exponential ideas on how to apply universal logic to the material side of AI, CRISPR, World War III, climate change, and mental health. Wow. My hand is aching. So please make my sacrifices worth it. Fight with me. Life is worth fighting for. And by the way, peaceful revolution. That's why we're choosing hunger strikes, Gandhian style. Okay? That's the signal, or else we're going to destroy ourselves in that dead culture. Look at my hair. I can't wait to cut this rat nest out. It's like literally pulling my hair down. Okay? This is the level. As I am supported, it will lift the poor around the world. I'm physically representing the toxicity of our species right now and living off of donations. Just like Jesus Christ did, just like Buddha did, just like the real Messiah does, the real maestro, the real sage, the real luminary. Even if you're atheist, we've proven truth. It's called the proof of truth. I've written it in a couple of preprint journals. And if you know how to write in publications like the Philosophical Review at Duke University or Nature, or in these high-level journals, I would greatly appreciate your help getting these ideas into that stratosphere or that echelon of society, that stratospheric level of power, okay? But we don't just want power. We're testing for wisdom in this new governance model. There will be an election in a month or so. And if the United Nations, which is approving of this direction so far, we had a fluke encounter and got this proposal of God's government, the true government, the scientific government. We got it to a couple of directors who have reviewed part of it now and are, what we've heard, receiving it positively and seeing the truth in it. I managed to translate it in a way where ordinary consciousness can start to see past the fragmented projections. Okay? Ask me questions. Don't address me with prejudice. Don't think you know the truth as you pigeonhole me into the fragments of understanding that you've been indoctrinated into. Listen with a beginner's mind, is what Buddha called it. Listen with a pure heart. Listen with good faith. Listen with a true scientific mind. Create a hypothesis and then test it. And give me a chance, 4 or 5 chances to test that hypothesis as I'm learning your meta mode of consciousness, the level of consciousness that you need things translated into. You might be an artist, religious, philosopher, atheistic, secular scientist, or if you're very, very rarely gifted, you might be able to grasp the universal logic in its pure form, which unites all those modes of symbology together, okay, in a harmony, in a symphony. Okay, this is a bit of a 20-minute update, but if you're still with me, we have a process now of starting God's government, refugee status, permanent residency, citizenship, and then governance, and then wisdom council, and then the election. Okay? The election based on the merits of pure wisdom, which is scientifically testable and solves the meritocracy problem itself. Because what we have worldwide is not a meritocracy, it's just a siphon for power. Okay, wow. I'm gonna eat something. And I would love you to join me on a vegan breakfast, okay? Oh man, I'm so excited. I just can't hide it. Come on. All right, so with that said, if you are watching this on LinkedIn, or you're in the Guardian class, or you're on Facebook, or wherever you're finding this, and you feel inspired, the spirit, the truth, your conscience, if you're atheist, if you're hearing this and you want to follow a different way because you realize you're going to be sacrificed anyway, make a wise sacrifice and come and learn this direction. Okay? Will you do me a favor? All right. And hopefully I can get a comb and maybe some beard oil eventually once we start to grow. And hopefully I'll see you before August 7th in peaceful revolution. I need your help. I'm calling you. If you hear the call, please come. I'll answer your questions. Stay blessed. Stay wise. Stay compassionate. Stay loving. And keep sublating. Until the next video. Okay. Have hope. Peace.